So with Zoom, it's a bit of a different way that we're able to vote and with our motions have a mover and a seconder. How we'll be doing our AGM with voting today is when we need a mover and a seconder. And a motion will ask folks to raise their hand. And what will happen is the first person that Amelia notices and the second person that Amelia notices will be the mover and the seconder for that motion. Then after the motion, I'll ask if there's any, if anyone would like to abstain from the vote, or if anyone would like to oppose the vote. And then hearing none, or if there are folks, we'll take those out of the numbers. And then with that, the motion carries. So what I'd like to do first, if we can just go back a couple of slides. We just have to approve the agenda.
Nope, no worries. Sorry, I lost something, Sarah.
That's okay.
But we're good. We should be here.
So if I could get, the agenda was included with the AGM invite. So if I could get a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda.
So Jan is the mover and Rose is the seconder. Thank you, everyone.
To confirm that, is that Jan Bloomfield and Rose Below?
That is correct. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. So would anyone like to, and if I could get everyone to put their hands down. If you would like to oppose the motion to approve the agenda, could you please write it in the chat if you would like to oppose? Or if you would like to abstain from voting to approve, to adopt the agenda today. Or objections. So based on that, the motion is carried. So we'll move forward. I'd now like to approve the 2019 annual general meeting minutes from our meeting on June 12th last year. So the minutes are available on our website as well. They'll be included when we send out this, the recap of this meeting as well. So if I could get a mover and a seconder by raising your hand to approve the minutes.
So I'm seeing Jane Newlands and Catherine Rockendale. So Jane Newlands moved and Catherine Rockendale seconded.
Great, thanks Amelia. And could I ask everyone to put their hands down? If you would like to abstain from the vote, please include it in the chat. Or if you would like to oppose the 2019 minutes, please include it in the chat. And seeing that there's none, the minutes are approved. Hooray! Yay for some of the procedure being done. Don't worry, we'll come back to more procedure a little later in the meeting. So I would like to thank our 2019-2020 board members. These are our board members on behalf of IAP2 Canada. At the end, closer to the end of the meeting, we'll talk about our chapter board members, but these are the board members from across Canada. So I'd like to thank Sarah, I'd like to thank myself, Hugo, Catherine, Rose, Drew, Michelle, Bruce, Kristen, Kevin, Mike, Mark, Catherine, and Nicole. Thank you for being our board members this past year. And now we'll move into the highlights from 2019. There's so many, but we're just going to touch on 3 a little bit more in depth, and then I'll run through a bit more of a very robust list. So the second edition of the Skills Symposium was held in March in Gatineau. You know, just wonderful, tremendously positive results of the attendees who were interested in the Skills Symposium, really showing IAP2 Canada leading the way in terms of really listening to our members who are interested in training and interested in professional development. Thanks to our staff as well for making this so successful. It's wonderful to see everyone being able to gather in person at a time a while ago. So next is the international change update. So this was the International Change Initiative is basically the redesigning of IAP2 from a training perspective, as well as how some of our governance works with IAP2. IP2 Canada is one of the regions of IP2 International. We're one of 7. And there's other regions that are in development as well. South America is one that's coming up. But starting in 2020, IP2 Canada has taken over the management and administration of IP2 licensed courses. We'll be talking about that more as this year unfolds, and it's been great. Thanks again to our staff and to members of the training and professional development committee who've really made this a really wonderful part of our organization, something that was a very long time coming. So thank you. The next item was the North American Conference that was held in Charlotte. Lovely time held by all, and celebrated some of our core value winners that were in Charlotte as well. So just a really lovely conference, and the ability to not only attend a conference but meet others as well is something that I think others really look forward to the conference each year. So it was a great thing for 2019. New in 2019 was the Indigenous Awareness Program, which is continuing into 2020. Our Youth Task Force was getting underway, working on some of our strategic relationships and making a plan for that, starting the training transition, and the Taster Series webinars were a hit. Some of the highlights: the ongoing monthly learning webinars always have more people coming and being interested in learning. 8 more IP2 Canada members earned their CP3 designation, and the community of practice increased activity in 2019. Our membership update: we're growing, over 800 members at the end of 2019. And Atlantic, oh sorry, I'm looking at the numbers. There was a change in 2018 to 2019 with the St. Lawrence chapter moving into the National Capital Region and AQP2. So you can see some of the numbers there changing, but great to see membership growing. Now I'd like to hand it over to our treasurer, Michelle Snow.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, everybody. For those who I haven't met personally, I'm Michelle Snow. I'm on the IAP2. I've been serving my 2nd year in this role. Provided for your review is a copy of the updated financial statements that are in the, they're on your screen here, which we'll go through. There's 2 slides, but there also is a bit more of a summary available for you in the annual report if you haven't had a chance to review those yet. 2019 was a year in which the Canadian chapter did not host the national conference, and many of you may be aware, and you'll be able to see by the years in the 4-year span that's on the screen there right now, the years in which we host the national conference tend to be a bit more of a financially productive year for us. But I'm really pleased to say that for the last several years and continuing on through 2019, we are in a very strong position.
Sorry. Michelle, just a second. We seem to have some competition. Can everyone please double check and make sure that they are muted? I just want to make sure that everyone is muted so that we can hear Michelle. My apologies, Michelle, but we were having trouble hearing you. Back over to you. And thank you, everyone. Michelle, please don't mute yourself. Oh, there we go. Oh. Good stuff.
Please let my inability to use the mute button not be compared to my inability to count. So, as I was saying, it's been my pleasure to be the treasurer for the IAP2 Canada board for the past 2 years. We've provided for you on the screen here a quick snapshot of the last 4 years of our organization, and you'll see that we're in a fairly sound financial position up to the end of 2019. There is some additional information available in the annual report for your review as well. What I think I was mentioning is that for those who are new to the organization, you may not be aware that as the North American Conference moves from year to year between Canada and the US, the years in which Canada is the host tends to be a bit more of a revenue generating year for us. So you'll see a little bit better picture from 2016 and 2018 than we saw in 2019 because it was hosted by our colleagues in North Carolina. That said, we are in a sound financial position, and I want to thank the very due diligence of the staff and very conscientious efforts of our board members to ensure that when we're making decisions about where revenue opportunities are or our expenses, we do so, I believe, with the utmost attention to being as fiscally prudent with everyone's resources as we possibly can. Sarah just mentioned a moment ago that our membership base is increasing, so that's very advantageous not only from a revenue stream, but also from the ability for us to service a larger part of the community across the country. So those are all very positive things in our financial statements. I won't go through them in detail, but I will take a moment to ask if anybody has any questions. But again, we ended 2019 in a good, strong financial position with just slightly under $200,000 in total net assets available to us. Again, knowing that 2019 is a year in which we have a little bit of a decreased revenue stream. And so I'll pause for a second to take questions, and then I'll just make Sarah and Amelia just a quick comment about the outlook for 2020, because we all understand that 2020 is a bit of a different year. So are there any questions on the financial statements?
So I am looking at the chat box, and I don't see any questions from anybody on the chat box, Michelle. And I just want to see if I can see any hands raised. And I don't see any hands raised either. So I think you're all right to carry on.
So maybe I'll ask at this point for a motion to approve the report as tabled. And then, like I said, I'll speak quickly to 2020.
So Catherine Rockendale has moved and Kevin Thorvaldson has seconded.
Thank you, Catherine and Kevin. Is there anybody who wishes to, I guess we're voting by raising hands, correct?
Yes, people can raise their hands. And I just want to respond to a question from Steph. The annual report will be coming out. It will be coming out with the recording from this meeting, along with the PowerPoints and everything else, Steph. So everybody will be receiving the annual report that attended today's meeting. It will also be put on the website to make sure that it's available to anybody that wants to go and take a look at it. So Steph, thank you so much for the question. So not everyone has voted. I just need to make sure that 20 people have voted. So if you could please go in. Looks as though we're good. Yep, looks as though we've got 20 people that have voted. Let me just do a quick double check. Please, I do need to count your vote. So if you could just give me 1 second. 18. Okay, we're fine. Thank you so much. Michelle?
All good?
Yes, all good. Thank you.
Perfect. So Sarah, I'll just take a quick second because I'm sure it might be of interest to folks on the line to talk a little bit about where we are financially with respect to 2020. Not surprising, the world is in a bit of has been in a bit of a pause, and that certainly has impacted our revenue generating opportunities for 2020 as well as our expenses. What I'd like to just convey to the membership is we did at the board level last month actually do a revisit of our projected budget that we had for 2020. Obviously decisions around the national conference, our regional skills symposium, all of those items which are typically significant revenue generators for us have certainly been impacted by the COVID-19 situation. So the board, along with a lot of effort from Amelia and staff, actually revisited the projected budget that we had for 2020. We realigned some of our priorities in terms of our anticipated revenues and our expenses. And I would like to just, I guess, convey to everybody at this point, we feel like we are still in a sound financial position. Not as host the North American conference in the format that we're accustomed to is typically a significant revenue generator for us. And no question that those things, as well as our training activities, have been impacted. But through some very innovative and strategic thinking of the board members and staff, we've actually found some alternative ways to do our work and continue to be in a sound financial position. So while we'll certainly be impacted financially in 2020 over and above what we had envisioned going into this year, I certainly am at this point still feeling very comfortable that our organization is in a sound financial position, and we can certainly continue to support our members in the continuing and evolving ways that they may require as we all work through this new reality of how we work and connect with each other. So I just wanted to make a statement for that, as it might have been something that was on people's minds.
Thanks very much, Michelle. Terry's asked about an income and expense statement. You're more than welcome to contact us and we will give you the detailed income and expense statement. But we don't typically provide it at the AGM, but happy, if you're interested, please send us a note at info@IAP2 Canada. We'll make sure that you see that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Terry. Thank you, Amelia, for all of your help with the budgeting as well, because you're a great asset to me, keeping all of the numbers and the records track, not only tracking them all, but also making it all very transparent for us as a board as well. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. So over to Drew.
Thanks very much for that, Michelle, and for the introduction, Amelia. Hello, I'm Drew Ferrari. I'm Secretary of the Board. I took over this position from Rose Bilou last fall, and part of my role as Board Secretary is to chair our Nominations and Elections Committee. And I've been supported this year by committee members Kevin Thorvaldson and Tanushri Pillai, and very capably by our staff person, staff support, Anita Wazuda. So big thanks to all of these dedicated folks who really make this role very smooth. The committee is responsible for finding qualified volunteers to fill positions of both the Canadian representatives to the IAP2 International Board, as well as to the IAP2 Canada Board of Directors itself. In 2019, the IAP2 International Board underwent a change whereby each region selects its own directors. So Canada gets 2 directors on the International Board. So last November, our national call for candidates resulted in 2 applicants, Constance Ramasiari and Bruce Gilbert. And so we thank both Constance and Bruce for their commitment to P2 beyond Canada on the International Board. Constance is serving a 2-year term and Bruce a 1-year term. So we're also grateful to Catherine Rockendell, who's stepped back now from her role with IAP2 International, having served for the past 1.5 years. So thank you very much, Catherine, for your service in this capacity as well. So as for the IAP2 Canada Board, it's composed of 13 directors who serve overlapping but staggered 3-year terms. And that allows us for some continuity among board membership and mentorship. And so there's always a combination of experienced board members and newly elected board members. So that's helpful. So about 1/3 of the board stands for election in any given year. So each year we examine the skills and experience of departing board members to understand where we need to supplement the board's strengths. After our national call for candidates this spring, we received 4 applicants whom we subsequently interviewed and asked them some questions. They had an opportunity to ask us some questions. So with 4 candidates and 6 open board positions this year, there wasn't a need for a formal election. So today we're pleased to acclaim all 4 of our candidates, Terry Cook, Jacques Bernard, Rajveer Rao, and Precious Ilye. So these 4 candidates all scored very highly in all the priority areas identified for the coming year, which included financial literacy, skills in inclusion and diversity, change and risk management, and leadership. So if I can have you change the slide now, Amelia. So as we welcome our new board members who officially start their terms in September, we want to thank our departing board members for their dedicated service and their integrity, their humor, the creativity they brought to the board, and their leadership, of course. So for those leaving, Rose Bilou, Kirsten Farrell, Hugo Mimet, Kevin Thorvaldson, Mike Waters, and Mark Weir, our deepest thanks. So our remaining board members for the current year are Sarah Rivet, Catherine Rockendell, myself as Secretary, Michelle Snow, Bruce Gilbert, Catherine Cole, and Nicole O'Mellinson. So we're happy to have them stay on with us. So finally, here's a look at our new board members for the coming year. Please join me in welcoming Jacques Baynard, Precious Ile, Terry Cook, and Reservoir Rao. If there are any questions about the, yay! If there's any questions about the nominations or elections process, I'm happy to address that now. Otherwise, I'm happy to turn it back over to Sarah for ratification of some bylaw changes.
So Drew, just to let you know, we're getting a lot of welcome to our new members and thank you and congratulations for service. So, so no questions at this point in time, but I know you're around if people do want to ask more questions.
Absolutely, I'm here if you have any further questions about this.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Oh,
everyone.
you're even getting hearts on our new board members. That's so much fun.
Oh.
People are using the annotation.
Gosh, that's fantastic. Best use of annotation so far. Oh, and it's cute because the hearts are still on the motion to ratify the bylaws. Aw. So as part of having good governance, we review our bylaws and consolidated articles often. And this year we noticed we needed to make some changes based on some of the changes to the rule that we have with international, as well as just to clarify some language and make some clerical edits. First, I wanted to ask if anyone had any questions about the bylaw changes, and I'll give it a second in the comments to see if anything comes in. And not seeing any. What I'll do is ask for hands to go up. Oh, sorry. Oh, Stephanie, what the changes are, we had sent these with the AGM invite. So unfortunately we can't bring them up with the way that Zoom works. But what they are is within the bylaws, there was about 7 different changes that were highlighted. Our board took the chance to review them at our May board meeting. And it was just changes around, we hadn't mentioned what the international affiliation was with being a region and an affiliate and how that worked, as well as, I think we can put the link in the chat. Amelia can probably help us out with that. So
Actually,
we can, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to ask Rafi to do that if she wouldn't mind, please.
Yep. Yeah, so those are the, and then the other changes were just some misnumberings and some clerical editing. So those were the, those were what the changes were.
So it would be in the agenda, Rafi, that everyone received. So if you put a link to the agenda, in the agenda is the link to the bylaw changes. And my apologies, we did try and open this up yesterday, and then we lost the Zoom completely. So, but it is in absolutely the agenda. So, and that would have been in everyone's invite. So when you received your invite, it was there. But we'll get that up for you as soon as possible so you can see the detailed changes.
So perhaps what I'll ask for now is a mover and a seconder to ratify the bylaws and complete articles. So if everyone could raise their hand.
So Brenda Wallace moved and Pam Robertson seconded. Brenda Wallace moved and Pam Robertson seconded.
Terrific, thank you. Can I ask if anyone opposes the bylaw changes to put it into chat? And if anyone has opposition to include that in chat? Thank you, Stephanie. We'll note your abstention in the minutes.
So I'll just do a quick count. So we've had 17 people approve it at the moment.
And because what we had done in the past was we had asked for abstentions and opposition. So if folks didn't approve, it didn't say those, then it was noted as approved.
Okay, and we actually now have enough people with their hands raised to certainly make the 20 as well, Sarah. So thank you for that.
Thanks very much. I'm now going to introduce Catherine Rockendale to talk about our 2020 plans.
Great, thank you, Sarah. So for 2020, we started off the year, like most organizations, with one direction. And at the end of February, beginning of March, we had a sudden stop in terms of having to adjust to a new reality. This affected many of our plans, everything from training to the symposiums, to the conference, our strategic plan. And although it didn't actually stop our ongoing efforts, because of the strength of our staff and our board, and maybe our members who support us through committees, we were able to adjust very effectively in terms of looking at still continuing on our strategies, but looking at different delivery mechanisms, primarily online, or working with other organizations, our chapters, to continue moving towards on strategy. So for 2020, we've had some very good response in terms of being able to transition. As you heard from our treasurer, we've been able to actually minimize some of the impacts to our bottom line, and as a board looked at strategically how can we adjust our plans for 2020 to ensure that we continue to manage financially. So certainly we have a lot of ongoing activities, and we've had some great successes, and I just want to do a shout out to all of our staff and all our committees and volunteers who really made our virtual skills symposiums successful, our online, to all of our trainers who've pivoted and basically are offering online training. And the board will be doing online virtual strategic planning, and we'll be actually integrating some of the learnings and some of the insights that we've got from the shift that we've had to make into our strategic plan. So the organization is well set up for the future, and we're quite excited about 2020 and the opportunities that have emerged for doing things differently and opening up new ways of thinking about the work that we do. So on that note, I'll turn it over to, I think it's back to Sarah.
Thanks for that, Catherine. So now we're coming to the end of our official AGM. I'd like to ask if anyone has any new business they'd like to ask, or questions that may have come up in the AGM that we could answer right now.
So I'm not seeing any, Sarah.
Terrific. So what we can do is we'll actually put a close to the AGM. For that, I'll need, oh my goodness, just kidding. I need to do a thank you to all of our amazing volunteers. Un grand merci à nos bénévoles. So I'd like to thank Belinda, Carrie, Lisa, Natasha, Monica. Oh no, I practiced this before and now I'm slowing down. Whew. Monique, Michael, Marcy, Ali, Mary, Emily, Caitlin, Kevin, Lauren, Sean, Julie, Gay, Sean, Mike, Karen, Lara, Megan, Alexandra, Carol, Jana, Trevor, Lindsay, Samantha, Lindsay, Lara, Leanne, Sarah, Colleen, Brad, Krista, Paul, Maggie, Jana, Lawrence, Katie, Carla, Tracy, Katrina, Jody, Joanne, Jody, Joanne, Michelle, Carrie Lynn, Hugo, Marie, Camille, Guy, Henri, Jacques, Fabiola, Jessica, Clément, Mary, Sophie, Alice, Carole, Peter, Stephanie, Brenda, Gay, Natalie, Tracy, Jessica, Yvonne, Susanna, Belinda, Anne, Anita, Julia, Dave, Hugo, Lara, Leanne, Neil, Peter, Robert, Stephanie, Tracy, Trevor, Gay, Jan, Lou, Natasha, Maynard, Jessica, Heidi, Sarah. And there's one more page. Whew. Okay. Allison, Anne, Aaron, Art, Axa, Brad, Brenda, Catherine, Dale, Heidi, Jan, Jessica, Carrie, Karen, Catherine, Kay, Lauren, Lindsay, Megan, Michael, Michelle, Nicholas, Nicole, Nora, Rose, Sarah, Shauna, Teresa, Trista, Sarah, Amanda, Barb, Alice, Robin, Addis, Mike, Brenda, Constance, Jennifer, Pam, Shiona, Tanis, Christine, Sherry, Doha, Francis, Patricia, Trish, Christine, Lindsay, Francis, Richard, Robert, Ali, Iva, Megan, Mike, Rian, Whitney, Gay, Sean, Pam, Ginger, Terry, Jane, Kim, Jane, Victoria, Stephanie, Carrie, Adrienne, Karen, Cheryl, Terry, Emma, Dylan, Jason, Lara, Robin, Carol, Richard, Larry, Joseph, Nicole, Jessica, and Mark. So I would just like to say it's important that we give a big round of applause to all of our volunteers. And many of those names I read more than once. There's not just one person is often on many different committees. So thank you for volunteering for IAP2. Woo! Okay, so now I'd like to do a close to the AGM. I'll need a mover and a seconder to close off our official program. Could I get a mover and a seconder?
So Mike Waters and Karen Reiter Steck. Karen, I'm sorry if I've just butchered your last name. Hopefully I got that right. Karen Reiter Steck and Mike Waters.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Amelia. If I could ask, would anyone like to oppose or anyone like to abstain from the motion to adjourn? Please note your comments in the chat box. And hearing none, we're going to try something a little bit different after this AGM today. So I'm going to hand it over to Amelia and Rafi to take us through what we're going to do next.
Thanks so much, Sarah, and thank you for those of you that are still with us. We're going into sort of an informal session, just for about 20 minutes. It won't take very long. What we'd like to do is, for all of you, we'd like you to reflect a little bit on your experience about what 2020, what has been most impactful, what has been your learning, your insight, or your takeaway, and we're going to pop you into groups. So we're going to automatically pop you into groups. So you'll have an opportunity to network a little bit with your colleagues that are still on the line, and you'll have an opportunity to talk to each other as we learn about what's happening in 2020. And perhaps you could bring one takeaway back with you for IAP2 Canada. If there's anything you'd like IAP2 Canada to do or think about, it would be great if you'd bring that back. So what's going to happen right now is Raphael is going to put you into groups. It will take just about a minute. You'll automatically grow into a group. You're going to hit yes, join group. You're going to be in there for 15 minutes. So just note, you'll be in there for 15 minutes. Then we're going to bring you all back, and then we'll do a little bit of a closing. So Rafi, are you okay to pop people into groups now?
Yep. How do groups of 3 to 4 or 4 to 5?
4 to 5, please.
4 to 5. Okay. And I see that Stephanie just left us a message too in the chat box.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to read it.
I'm sorry.
I just responded to Stephanie.
Oh, great.
Okay. All right. So we're going to pop you into groups at the moment, and we'll see you back in 15 minutes.
Great.
Have fun. Enjoy.
So when you see the pop-up on the screen, press accept or join. Bruce, Dr. Paresh Pandya and Sarah, are you guys there? Hello? Okay, I'm gonna go join a group. If you have any problems, please message me directly.
world. It's such a, hi, Rafaela.
Hi, hello.
We were just talking about Stephanie's comment in the chat about inclusion, racism, those things. I don't have my chat up, but
I saw it before. Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. So I think it's very, very topical right now as well. I don't know if any of you had a chance to attend the what was it actually called? We commissioned, IAP2 commissioned the inclusion webinar from Simon Fraser from the WAS Center, and it was fantastic, really good. So there's obviously been some good progress made there, and just having an Indigenous practice network, I think in IAP2 Canada has been really positive. So lots of positive things happening. And I know at the international level as well, that inclusion and diversity and equity is a big focus as well for upcoming training. So so that's good. That's been a positive, I think, in the last year.
I did notice I was on that masterclass for online engagement yesterday, and there, there was mindful representation from different groups. Some of the trainers on the call were from the Black community in the States. It was so interesting to hear their perspectives. And I just appreciated even seeing the diversity on the call in the training group. That's a step in the right direction. That was, I guess that would have been IAP2 North America that probably was offering that, I'm guessing. Is that right? Or IAP2 International? You have to forgive me. I'm not the structure of the organization. I'm probably not 100% familiar with. But I appreciated that, and I appreciated that they talked a lot about how to achieve equity in online engagement, and actually they went into how different people have worked on that process, whether you're trying to get people from different age categories, from different socioeconomic categories, from different ethnicities, or anything. They talked about, they really tried to give some tools about how to do that. But and I thought that one of the most beneficial pieces of learning that I had this year was the Indigenous inclusion training during the Skills Symposium. That was really helpful. I was grateful for the offering. I appreciated the just the knowledge and professionalism from Ann Harding in leading that. You really felt like she knew exactly what she was talking about. And then the co-host that she worked with was Indigenous. You were getting the right information, and there was a practice that came out of it, and an action-oriented plan that came out of it. And I thought that was so excellent, and people are really needing that information right now. Even people working in our space that are trying to do the right thing. Some folks were saying, I don't even know where to start. Like, I'm so afraid of contributing to more pain by not taking the right approaches, by not saying things correctly or whatever it was, that I feel stuck. And so it was really helpful to have, this path forward presented, and to have training offered on that. So that, I thought that was big.
And Kelly, I also always wanted to say this, that IAP2 has an Indigenous awareness program that it just launched last year, and it's been there's been just positive feedback on it. So if you want to continue that, and I would encourage you to. I don't think the call is open yet. I'm not sure, but yeah, just keep your eyes open for that.
Great, thank you.
I think I guess I think about there's lots of easy, not so much really easy, but there's lots of obvious things I think we can do. It's the less obvious things that really strike me, the unconscious biases, the systems of decision making, the systems of who gets a voice and who doesn't, the systems of like accessibility and opportunity that are at play. And I think about IAP2 as an organization too, and so making good progress, and also I think not enough progress. You know, it's really great to see some you know, more racialized people being nominated to the board or to taking seats in the governance structure. But I also, not but, and I also think there's a long way to go, just in the ways we do our business, in the ways we create space for different voices. I was even reflecting, I have a couple of colleagues in the US who are Black, and there's a lot of white people solving the problem, right? Like, oh, here's what we'll do, and I'll take this action, and I'll offer this, and I'll fix the problem this way. And one of them reached out to me and said, so like they said that they are gonna start a program asking for people who have skills and knowledge, would they be willing to offer them to Black entrepreneurs to support the growth of their businesses? And I said, sure. So, but what the reflection for me was in the space of like, who should be leading the change? Should we maybe be listening a lot more rather than, you know, deciding how we're going to fix this? I think that we should be following a lot more than we should be leading. And that means we need the right people leading this. Because I think about, like, you know, I'm deeply committed to inclusion. I have led conversations about race, a load of them over the last number of years. I wouldn't lead one right now. And so for me, that's a reflection about my practice. Who am I to lead that conversation? And maybe I would co-lead that conversation, but probably I would step back. And if a person with lived experience needed support or some skills to lead that conversation, then I would coach or support them. But I think we need to get out of our own way. Yeah, anyway, I just think it's all there's lots of easy things to point to. The harder thing is that we can be committed to inclusion, but it's not about us. So yeah, it's messy.
I think that's a really good point. And I hadn't kind of thought about it that way, because I think when you see all of the pain and hurt, especially in the United States, but also in Canada and around the world, I think a lot of us, our first inclination is, what can I do about this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what could I do about this? So I think that's a really good point, that maybe the best thing we can do is just to listen and, you know, adjust our thinking, like be conscious of our own biases.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really good point. I think that's something that IAP2 certainly could embrace, right? To really support people of color and people with other diverse backgrounds to lead the discussion on how we can, where we need to adjust and how we can adjust to support.
Yeah, totally, Pam. Like, one of the things that comes up for me is I think about the Core Values Awards and the categories for Core Values Awards. But one of the premises for what makes a great project often is I'm sure if you did some research, you could equate who gets awards with how much money got spent on the project.
Yeah.
Right? So that's systemically racist, if you want to call it that. I don't know, it's systemically discriminatory. And so yes, yeah. And so, like, thinking about just things like that, like, yeah. Anyway, I think it's messy, and I think it's going to require. Go ahead.
No, I totally agree with you. I think that you're hitting on exactly what we're being asked to do, which is reflect, right?
Yeah.
Anyone I know who's putting out statements from the Black community right now, and it's not, there's, you know, it's not our job to solve this, and you know, they're asking for, right, reflection,
Yeah.
and listening, like you said, but like doing the work on the inside, so with yourself,
Yeah.
with your family, with your organizations, with your teams, with your associations, and all of that. So I think what you're presenting is that is directly reflective of what we're being asked to do, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right, by the communities that are experiencing this pain and going through this right now. Yeah. And well, have been going through this for all of history.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, we have something to bring back. Oh, look. Oh my, that's cute.
How old is she?
She'll be 1 in 10 days.
I love her.
She's adorable.
She's so pretty.
Sorry for missing part of that. I had to, she just hopped up for a nap. So I heard the last part of what you were talking about. So thanks for sharing.
Does she like to wave?
Can you wave, Claire? Look, can you wave?
Hi.
She's adorable.
Like
yeah.
We give everybody a round of applause for a good AGM. Bravo! She's like, not when I'm on display, Mom.
Oh my gosh, so cute. So cute. Good job, Mom. How many other kids do you have, Sarah? I hear another voice in the background.
Oh, it's my husband. So 1 + 1. Just Claire's only one. Yeah, it's true. With the amount of video, sometimes it feels like more than one.
I have to hop off the call. I'm sorry I have to leave because I have another commitment at 11, but this was a really good discussion. Thank you to everyone, and it was nice to see you.
You
Thank
too.
you,
Nice
guys.
to talk to you, Pam.
Thank you.
Right, bye.
I'm actually going to send a message to my team so that I can just continue to participate for the next 5 minutes. So
Okay.
I'm just going to turn off my sound for a minute.
Okay.
Sorry, my kids in the background keeps on making lots of noise. That's why I haven't been contributing as much, but I've been really enjoying hearing all of your comments, and I find they're so well expressed that I wish I had recorded them.
Oh.
Yeah, so I could.
Well, the little button that says recording is still on, Rafi.
It's still on. It may have followed me into the breakout room. I'm not sure. Like sometimes it doesn't follow me in the breakout room, but it only does the breakout room of the host that it follows you typically. Sarah, just to be clear, Sarah, just one question. We're supposed to finish at 2, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
I think what people.
I'll just say 2 minutes left to the. I'll just broadcast that. And Stephanie, not to change the topic, but I just wanted to let you know that I had a IAP2 meeting, and 2 of our members were in your training during the virtual skills, and they were flabbergasted by how good it was. So congratulations.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's really great, and that's nice to know.
Yeah, they really, really loved it. And they also liked that you did that post meetup to cover more material, or to like talk about some of the stuff. They really appreciated that. So that's it. Just wanted to let you know.
That's great.
Good news.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I haven't actually had a chance to see that webinar that that SFU did. So, and there's supposed to be one in French. So, but I'm glad to hear that it was useful, and I'm glad to hear that. And have you guys read the guide as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I did read the guide. Yeah. I think the webinars are interesting and they're useful, and I would really appreciate like a 2.0 version of them, because oftentimes they're pretty high level, they're pretty like basic, they're sort of, oh, here's a couple of things to think about, and I'd like to do the really deep dive into, wait a minute, can we grapple with this, principle or this issue, because I'm not sure I understand it. So So the webinars are nice, but they kind of just scratch the surface, I think, on some of the more complex issues.
Do you think you can still have a webinar on more complex issues with a whole bunch of participants, or do you think that those have to be broken up into? Yeah, you think so? Okay.
Oh yeah, I think you could, absolutely. But I think you'd need to bill it as this is an advanced session. This is a deep dive into this, you know, and into rather than this being a 101 and to inclusion, like this is a deep dive into.
That's great. Yeah. That's a great suggestion. And I've thought about that before as well, that there's some of them are just too general. And then by the time you get to the good stuff, it's like 1 hour is done. So yeah. Guys, I'm going to close the rooms. Is that okay? And I'm definitely going to take that one back to Stephanie. You can share it, but I'm definitely going to take it back to IAP2.
Okay, awesome.
Stephanie?
See you soon.
See you guys soon in the big room.
Thank you.
So it's great to see everybody coming back. So as everyone comes back, I'd love to see if you could let me know if you enjoyed being in your breakout groups. And you can just give me a thumbs up or a hand wave or whatever works would be fabulous as we're welcoming everyone back. Now, I know that our group had a great conversation, and what I've asked them to do is to put, because there were some things that they wanted IAP2 Canada to know, so I've asked our group to write those in the chat box. So if you could just take a minute or so, anything that really came out for you in your group meetings, could you just pop it in the chat box? And we've got maybe 2 more minutes before we need to close this meeting and start another meeting because, hey, we've got a virtual conference to plan, so we need to get into that meeting pretty soon. But does anyone just want to open up their mic and share before we close out? Yes, Carol, please. Just unmute yourself and...
Yeah, I just wanted to say a quick shout out that I was one of the participants in the very first virtual offering of the planning group. I was with Rafi in early May for 9 sessions across the country, and it went really, really well. And good shout out to IAP2 for being able to offer that course virtually.
Thanks, Carol. Anybody else? Just raise your hand or open your mic. Please, Kelly.
I'll be extremely brief. We had a long conversation about this, but there were probably 2 things. So we were speaking in response to the comment that Stephanie put in the chat box and saying that we were hearing the call from the Black community to make sure that we are self-reflecting, reflecting personally, organizationally, from a team perspective, and in every way to do what we can to learn and grow and provide equity in our engagement activities, but also just overall, and to make sure that we're not contributing to more pain for marginalized communities. We also talked about how the offerings from IAP2 Canada on training on Indigenous inclusion is extremely helpful during this time. I think that people are seeking ways to do the right things, feeling stuck, and that training is providing a path forward and an opening and contributing to truth and reconciliation efforts and teaching everyone else how their actions can be improved and how they can be part of progress in those areas. I think it all kind of goes together, and we had a big conversation about that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kelly. And Rajveer, you have your hand up. Did you want to unmute and speak, or did you just have your hand up? You just had your hand up.
I just had my hand up that I agreed that I enjoyed the.
Okay, excellent. Any last thoughts before we truly close out today's meeting? Anyone that would like to say anything? I actually also would like to do a bit of a shout out because we have a colleague from Israel who is also a member of IAP2 Canada now. So I just wanted to say hi. It's so great to have you on today's call.
Really awesome to be a part of this, and shout out to Richard, who is one of the first people in IAP2 that I spoke with before we joined IAP2 Canada.
Excellent. Well, welcome and thank you to everybody. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon. Get hold of us anytime if you need anything. Bye, everyone. Take care.